Hey, welcome. In the past I brought you videos for the Valoi Easy35 film scanner and the Valoi Easy120 film scanner. Since then my Leica film scanning setup has now changed, and so today I'm going to bring you the new updated Valoi Easy35 version 2. The question is it worth the upgrade? Coming up I'll tell you what's working, what's not working, and then give you my final verdict as to whether or not you may want to get the Easy35 version 2. Before we do that, let me give you 5 great reasons why personally I prefer to scan my own film. Hi, Matt here. So before I show you my new scanning setup, if you currently get your film lab developed, let me first give you 5 great reasons why you may prefer to scan the film yourself. Number 1, time. If you develop and scan your own film, it means you can shoot in the morning, get home, have your lunch, develop your film, scan your film, and by the evening you've already got your photos on Instagram or Flickr. You can't really do that with a lab in the UK or the US. Number 2, control. By that I mean how your film is scanned. When you get your film developed and scanned in a lab, you then have to re-edit all the photos yourself anyway because they're never quite how you want them. So the control factor means you can edit exactly how you like it, and for me that's really important. Number 3, if you have to post your film negatives to a particular lab, there's always that really small risk that perhaps your film gets lost in the post. And so the safety aspect of being able to do everything in your own house means you're never going to lose your negatives. Number 4, I guess similar to number 2, consistency. Once you have your own way of working, like let's say I'll show you as we get into the video, I use presets. Once you apply your same settings to each of your scans, it's a very repeatable process, and so then you get a consistent look across all your images. If you use a lab or if you use different labs, the problem is one lab tech might scan your film differently to another lab tech and films come back looking different. If you scan yourself, you've just got that nice consistency with your work. Lastly, number 5, resolution. If you're on a tight budget, the cheapest way to get your film scanned is to get the low resolution JPEGs, like the small JPEGs. The problem with that is the quality is not that great, especially if you want to work on your files afterwards. If you're getting your film scanned at the maximum resolution, you're going to pay top dollar for the privilege. By that point, it's probably more economical to scan it and develop it yourself at home. In the past, the lab scans were amazing and hard to match, but in recent times, ways you can scan your film at home yourself, such as with the Valoi scanners and various other methods. A combination of great scanning kit plus nice cameras, especially if you've got high resolution cameras, say 47 megapixels, 60 megapixels, and if you use the option of I think it's called pixel shift or multi-shot, where you do lots of shots together and then add them together, you get 1 mega file. That's probably going to give you the same detail as you're going to get from the highest resolution scan you can get from a lab. So yes, that's why I scan my own film personally, and I've done so for a long time, probably since 2013. We'll get into that in a second, and I guess just thinking about it, one bonus point of scanning your own film, let's say you shoot, I don't know, celebrities, or you shoot private stuff yourself, or you shoot nudes, glamour stuff. You might not necessarily want to send your film to a lab for everybody to see your negatives. So privacy is probably another reason you might want to scan and develop your film at home rather than send it out for everybody to see. Okay, enough of the general points. Let me first explain why I avoided digital camera scanning for as long as possible. So I used to use the Epson V800 flatbed scanner. That was great. I then upgraded to the V800 flatbed scanner, Epson. The main reason for that is I wanted to be able to scan 4x5 negatives and more medium format negatives, 120 film. I was always happy with the results. So even though everybody else had already started to transition over to scanning with a digital camera, I was like, nah, that's not for me. I'm happy with my flatbed. I'm just going to carry on as it is. Everything then changed when Valoi reached out to me and released their new Easy35 original scanner. This is a little scanning unit. This basically screws into the front of your camera lens. You use a macro lens and use a few different extension tubes and a few spacer tubes on this end. There you go. So there's your light box. The film goes through one side of the box, out the other side. And the beauty of this setup that the Valoi designed is because it's attached to the camera, you have it overcame all the issues that I thought of when people telling me about their digital scanning. So let me kind of give you a bit more information. Before this type of scanner, there was the sort of scanners where you'd have your camera on a mount, and then you'd have like a light table pointing up underneath. You put your film on the top. You need to make sure the table's horizontal. You need to make sure the camera's not on a wonk. It's got to be exactly horizontal. You have to line everything up. You're then going to make sure there's no dust falling onto your negatives, because obviously they're just all out in the open. And it just sounded like so much faff. There's just so many things, variables that could go wrong. To set it all up, and then you need your camera for a shooter, so you've got to take it all back down again. And I'm just like, nah, I'm going to stick with my flatbed scanner. When Valoi released this, I'm like, I could work with this. This sounds cool. Attach it when I need it, detach it when I don't need it, and then just use the camera to shoot my models or whatever the rest of the time. Super easy, very compact setup. Can just place it next to my lenses on the shelf. This is pretty much the whole kit. You get lots of tubes with it. See my first video. I will link it at the end of this, and maybe I'll link it below as well. The full review of this compared to the Epson as well. So, and all the lens details and all sorts of things. But in simple terms, you get loads of bits, but the only bits that I needed was this, and it works great. Life was good. I was happy with my scans, and then Valoi changed my thinking again by saying, hey Matt, do you want to try our latest product, which is the Valoi? I can show you actually, I've got it here. Excuse the long cable. They said, hey Matt, do you want to try our new Valoi Easy120? You can tell by the size of the name, this now accepts 120 film, so you can scan medium format film camera film with your mirrorless camera. Same process, attaches to the front, everything very similar. It's got a light inside. I can't show you this time because it's not plugged in. This caused me a few problems, good and bad. So originally I was like, this is great, this is the solution that I needed, because at that time I was scanning with the Leica cameras for my 35mm film, and then I was scanning with my Epson Flatbed V800 for my medium format film. The resolution from the Epson V800 was great, but it just takes so long. It's just like painfully slow. I'll come on to that in a second. So this sounded like the answer to my dreams, as it were. The problem was more me than Valoi. Because my cameras are all 24 megapixel, one shoot, if you think about it, I was shooting 6x6 Hasselblad negatives. I was like, for scans, I was scanning 6x645 negatives. This is obviously full frame, like a 35mm shape. So once you crop a 6x6 square out of a full frame rectangle, you're losing quite a lot of resolution. And so what I found was, again, I'll put a link to the Easy120 video at the end. The main takeaway in that video was, it's great if you've got a decent camera with enough resolution, but for me personally and my needs and my my high needs, it wasn't quite as good as the V800. So I didn't use this for medium format. But I accidentally realized that because it's got inserts, I'll show you. So inside you've got inserts for say 6x5, 6x6, 6x7, 6x9, and it does 35mm. I was like, I wonder how good it is for 35mm film. So I've got the 35mm one of these, clipped it in, and I realized because the light box on the back is bigger, it gave a more even illumination of the negatives. Now, the Valoi Easy35 original wasn't bad, but you did see a bit of a vignette at the edge because of the fall off. If you think of like a rectangular light, the corners are always going to be like a bit darker. So all I did was fix it in post, like you would on any photo. But this meant that I didn't need to do that. So what I did was I basically stopped using the Valoi Easy35 completely, and I used the Valoi Easy120, which is more designed for medium format, for my new 35mm setup. And that was my setup for quite a period. So this works great if you've got a high resolution camera or 24 megapixels if you want to scan 35mm. I was happy with the results, and yeah, carried on with my photography. Then Valoi got in touch with me again and said, hey Matt, we just made an upgraded version of the Easy35 version 1, the version 2. So let me show you. This is the version 1, this is the version 2. First thing you can notice is this is 3D printed. You may not notice from this distance. I think this is called injection molded. Basically this feels a bit more like, I don't want to be nasty, but like made in a shed, you know, like 3D printed vibe. Like it's nice, but this feels like more professional. Now you might think at first glance it's basically the same thing. What have they done? Like changed a few materials and that's it. As I understand it, the new one is 80% new parts compared to the original. My guess would be the only common parts are probably the tubes. Both scanners can be plugged into the USB-C. Both cameras have batteries, so I'll try and show you again. This one, this time the USB-C is on the top and the on-off buttons on the top. I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference in brightness, if there is a difference, but I'll show you. So version 1, version 2. Both versions have the option of a clip-on duster to like take the dust off your film. In the past you had like a couple of grub screws to attach it. The new one's super clever design. It's just magnetic. Really slick. So basically your film goes in the side, out the other side. It just feels nice and made. And the main key difference between the two, I might say that the colour difference is different. You can actually change the colour on the back of the original one. The main difference is the light inside. Other than the build quality, is the light inside. I believe this one is about 81% uniform lighting from like corner to corner on the light box. This one is 99% uniform, which is probably going to give you a more similar illumination of 35mm to what I was getting on the 120. Now one question you might have is, Matt, how does the version 2 results compared to the version 1? So I try to do loads of like my geeky scanning. If you've seen this channel before, I'm normally like doing lens comparisons and things like that, pixel peeping every pixel. This is where it gets a bit confusing. As I remember, this had vignetting in the corners, which is why I went to the 120 one. I scanned loads of film and I can't see a huge difference between the version 1 and the version 2. Both of them give you really nice results. Both of them give you the same resolution, because the resolution is obviously based on the camera and the lens, not the light box. The job of these things is just to hold the film flat. One advantage, I believe this one's now got ball bearings in the film holder thing, so it should keep your film more flat and aligned compared to the original, but I got sharp results from both. This one does feel a bit nicer, and this one also has a 4-hour battery, but I believe compared to 2 hours, but I think sometimes I have them plugged into USB-C anyway, so I don't really notice that aspect. Another thing to point out, I'll mention at the end, you can get an upgrade kit for the version 1 to convert it to a version 2. I'm now going to use the version 2 Valoi Easy35 for my 35mm. It's a nice size, fits in the cupboard really easy, works great. But for my 120 film, I'm going to continue to use my V800 flatbed scanner. And I should probably point out, I only use Valoi scanners for black and white film, and I'll mention why in a second. Let me first give you my black and white workflow, because it's actually really easy. So first of all, I use my Valoi scanner, whichever one I want to use. Take photos of the negatives. That's going to give me raw files or DNG files. I then import the DNG files into Adobe Lightroom. I use desktop, and then the images you're going to get are going to be obviously inverted because they're photos of a negative. So the next thing I do is I add my Mr. Leica film preset A, which flips negatives to positives. That then makes them look like normal photos. I then export them as full-size 16-bit TIFFs. I then re-import the full-size TIFFs back into the computer. Now my sliders, my adjustment sliders on the right-hand side are the correct way round, because when you have an inverted negative, if you say go brighter, it goes darker, because obviously it's the opposite with a negative. Once I import my positive photos as TIFFs, I then add my Mr. Leica film preset B, and that adds like a basic adjustment to all images, like a bit of sharpening, clarity, contrast, things like that. I then make any adjustments I need to kind of to fix the exposure, whatnot, and then I export them as full-size JPEGs, and then eventually that's the sort of thing you're going to see me post on the likes of Flickr and Instagram. That's great, and it works really easy for black and white. What about for colour? All the colour film that I've ever scanned myself has been done with a flatbed scanner, because I just use the Silverfast software. It gives me perfect colours, pretty much as good as they are depending on my developing skills. Your photos are pretty much done straight off the scanner. I absolutely love that aspect of using the Epson V800 with Silverfast. Now, the problem is, if you use a Valoi scanner, you're going to have to use something like Negative Lab Pro. Shout out to Nate, he has sent me Negative Lab Pro to kind of work with, but I'll maybe do a separate video on my colour film workflow in the future because I've not had time yet to even look at it. Current state, as I say, I use the Epson V800. Future state, I'm going to use the Valoi scanners with Negative Lab Pro, like every other photographer probably does except me. And then I'll be able to do colour and black and white all super fast compared to the speed it takes with a flatbed scanner. The second change is this. I'm not even sure how you pronounce it. AGO. Company reached out and said, hey Matt, do you want to try our film developing kit? So this basically automates your film developing, so you don't need to kind of have your stopwatch and stir for a bit or shake for a bit. It does everything itself. I'm really excited to test it, but as you can see, it's still currently in the box. So when I get a chance, I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. I'll also show you my attempts with Negative Lab Pro as well. So what is the verdict of the Valoi Easy35 version 2? I should probably show what's in the box. It's basically loads of tubes and papers and more papers in the box. So you obviously get your scanner that looks like this. And then you get lots of different tubes, so depending on which lens you use, you need to use like a macro lens that obviously lets you focus closer. I use a combination of macro lens and extension tubes. And then you also send you loads of adapter rings so you can attach the scanner to your particular lens. And you also get a nice red power cable to charge it. So that's what's in the box. Can I recommend the upgraded version 2 over the version 1? Now, this is the good bit. It's going to be win-win either way you go. The version 1 I think now is reduced to 175 euros I believe, and the new one is 270 euros. You can get an upgrade kit if you've already got the version 1 to make it into a version 2, so you get the more uniform light. Check the website, link below. Do you need the version 2? If you want a more uniform light source, version 2 is great. If you want a great deal and you don't mind changing your vignetting, the version 1 is still great. As you can see from this video, I tried to show the huge difference between the version 2 and the version 1, and most of my results were basically the same. I couldn't really tell a difference. Obviously it's going to depend on your particular negatives. Some negatives you might see it more than others. Let's say you've got a lot of sky in your photo, you might see vignetting in the corners compared to not on the new one. So if it's important, get the new one. If you think you can fix it in post, the old one's a great deal. So that's the particular Valoi scanners. Shout out to Valoi for sending me the kit to test. The bigger picture and the bigger takeaway I think for me is the easier, less painful and quicker I can make my film developing and film scanning, the more likely I am to shoot film. A huge reason why I'm not shooting medium format film so much at the moment is I just don't have a whole day to scan 5 rolls of film. I now need to start developing the poly film in my fridge. This thing is going to help me do it, especially for colour film, because it measures the temperature, controls the temperature. I'm quite excited actually. It's almost getting anything like lab developed, but doing it yourself in the kitchen, so, or wherever you do yours. All I need then is to find a high resolution camera, and hopefully we'll have a faster setup. So stay tuned, subscribe if you want to see what's coming next, and yeah, thanks as always to my amazing patrons.